Now, I don't usually cover leaks because the majority of them can be said with air quotes. In other words, they're complete bullshit. However, we now have confirmation from at least two highly credible sources about some things regarding Pokemon Legends Arceus and, yes, even Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Now, the first of the two leakers is Kelios FR, who is very well known for being a credible leaker for Pokemon news. Kelios stated that a Pokemon Presents is coming early June. Yes, prior to E3, with news and release date info on Pokemon Unite and Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. That's all well and dandy, but I know most of us here are clamoring for more Pokemon Legends info. That's where credible leaker number 2 comes in, expanding upon everything Kelios FR mentioned. Samus Hunter is known for having accurate leak info as well as never overloading us with speculative info that developers themselves are still deciding on, such as tentative release dates and announcement dates. That makes what Samus Hunter says here on Twitter all the more exciting and definitive. First, Samus Hunter said, "Many sites are reporting now rumors about a Pokemon Presents before E3 2021, even though I had already clearly mentioned it a few days ago and with the teaser last month, the one more stop before the destination. I had already talked about these details in private with some people like Minty Prime, now I make them public. The main focus will be 3 titles, Unite, Diamond and Pearl Remakes, and Legends." Okay, so that makes the Pokemon Presents before Nintendo's E3 pretty solid. But of course, there's more to be said about all of this. First, though, on the topic of Pokemon Unite, they said the Pokemon Company's plans are to revitalize interest in Pokemon Unite after it was poorly received by the public. Announcing certain aspects along with the main games is one of their moves to appease fans. That's nice, considering how demoralized people were from the Pokemon Presents that literally just showed off Pokemon Unite. For those unfamiliar, it's not that people were displeased with Pokemon Unite, it's that the Pokemon Company had a present a week prior, and then made a point to tell us to tune in a week later for big news. That means everyone was speculating for a week straight and hyping themselves up for things that seemed like they deserved their own presents, like a Diamond and Pearl remake or a true current gen Pokemon experience, since Sword and Shield was a total letdown for most players. But speaking of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Samus Hunter mentioned that, while the remakes of Diamond and Pearl will begin to show the main differences from the originals with new forms for some Pokemon and the return of some mechanics that were abandoned in new chapters, there will be a mix of fidelity to the original game and novelty to attract old and new fans of the series. Despite complaints from players, however, even these titles will not have a national Pokédex. This title aims at a single-player experience, while still embracing the multiplayer and competitive soul of the series. Okay, I'm shocked they're aiming for BDSP to be a single-player experience first and foremost, since it is supposed to be the embodiment of traditional Pokemon games, which, as we all know, focused heavily on social aspects and multiplayer. I'm not buying the game either way, but I wonder how fans will feel about this one. New forms of Pokemon sounds good. I'm glad they're doing that. However, I'm not sure what Samus Hunter means by return of mechanics that were abandoned in new chapters. Maybe they mean things like Pokeball stickers and Poketch features that we never saw again. As for the national dex, I kind of expected them not to have it, which in this case is inexcusable since this game literally looks worse than the 3DS games, so there's really no compromise whatsoever. But hopefully, at the very least, they use this time to fully embrace the competitive scene and actually provide the best competitive experience we've seen yet, starting with upping that 20-minute battle timer limit. Now, for the real meaty stuff, and what most of us here care about, Pokemon Legends Arceus news. Here's what Samus Hunter said about it. Legends instead will be a title primarily single player. It's a project born thinking about how it would be a title Pokemon set in an open world that follows the philosophy of Breath of the Wild. This does not mean only at the level of setting, but also to mechanics related to free exploration. The combat system will be a simplified version of the mechanics inherited from the titles of the main series, similar to Let's Go, but will deepen it with new mechanics, mainly related to the trainer and the links with their Pokemon. While for Diamond and Pearl, we will have new information primarily on a monthly basis until their release, Legends will have the same level of marketing only after the release of the remakes. There will be some new Pokemon in those games. Okay, there is a lot to unpack here. First, I love the philosophy they're going for with the whole Breath of the Wild meets Pokemon. From what Samus Hunter said here, it's safe to assume their biggest focus from that meeting of worlds is the free exploration. We already know about those leaked screenshots and all those different ways we're going to be using Pokemon, but this makes me wonder how smooth the transition to doing those tasks will be, as well as what else we might see. Maybe we can finally go up and down slopes without an invisible wall stopping us. Maybe all the walls and steep mountainsides will be interactive by the touch too, like Breath of the Wild. Perhaps surfing? Most excitingly is that we know Breath of the Wild is called an open air game rather than an open world, meaning the gliding with aviary Pokemon we see in the leaked images might be more prominent than we think. Needless to say, this has me so excited. Now, saying that the battle mechanics will be simplified and modified is quite interesting to me. We covered before that some translated leaks stated that battles will now be ATB, meaning they'll be turn-based but in real time. This is probably where we'll see the simplification of battle mechanics take place, as well as the deep addition Samus Hunter mentioned. What really intrigues me here though is the mention of deeper mechanics relating to links with our Pokemon. Anyone have any idea what that could possibly mean? Personally, I think there will be a new friendship system that will allow for team attacks of sorts. Kind of like Z moves, but obviously not as strong. We're pretty sure our player character can be damaged by Pokemon, but it would be interesting if we could also work with our own Pokemon to beat ferocious wild ones. Last thing Samus Hunter mentioned is how news will be dropped on us. We can expect to see Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl news at least once every month after the Presents hits in June, which is a nice way to keep the game relevant in people's minds and try to sell it to us. I am hoping for improvements on it from what we saw last time. Like, I want to buy the game, but so far I'm not even half sold. Even better though is that once Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl releases, we'll be seeing more Legends news in the same exact way, at least once every month until release. I honestly expected us not to get much more news until BDSP releases, so I'm not too shocked, but I'm truly excited that we'll be getting news drops monthly. I'll just be playing Pokemon Snap and Temtem until that releases. Overall, it looks like there's a lot of news to look forward to this year. Pokemon Presents in early June, and Nintendo Direct soon after. There was also a leak from Helios FR a while back I forgot to cover about how there's another big Nintendo game coming out in 2022 other than Pokemon Legends. If I had to infer, it will probably be Bayonetta 3, since that wouldn't clash with sales between itself and Legends Arceus. Nor would it spark any comparison controversies like Breath of the Wild 2 would. Also, don't get your hopes up that Pokemon Legends Arceus will be a Switch Pro title. We're not getting a Switch Pro anytime soon, as there's a semiconductor shortage thanks to overwhelming demand throughout the pandemic. Semiconductors are a necessary part of every console, including PCs, and the shortage is also the reason PS5s are so rare right now. Nintendo would not be able to physically make enough Switch Pros to sell by early 2022. The only way we'd know for sure Legends is a Switch Pro title is if it gets significantly delayed. Then we could talk about it. Anyways, on that educational note, I want to thank you all for hyping over Pokemon Legends with me and staying for the whole video if you made it this far. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a thumbs up to show support. Until next time though, peace out.